Morning.
Good morning.
Now can you hear me? There I am. Morning.
Good morning. One, two. Mr. Chair, it's 8 a.m. and we do have at least a quorum of people here if you'd like me to start.
Yes, let's start.
Very good. Okay. So we're going to call this work session to order for February 4th, the day of my first big snowstorm. I'm so excited. So first up, roll call. So I will call the roll for attendance. Chairman Bender.
Here.
Vice Chair Amel. Yeah, I can see you. I need audio.
Here.
There you go. Treasurer Parker. She is not here. Trustee Spalding.
Here.
Trustee Crispina, he emailed me. He will not be here, so he's absent. Trustee Johnson. Tyler. Mayor Tall.
Here.
And Manager Jordan.
Here.
Sue, you're late, but you're here now, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, you're here, and I'm letting Tyler in right now, so give that a second. Tyler, you're here now?
Sir.
All right, so that means the only person not here is Andy, and he emailed me to let me know he wouldn't be here, so. Okay, so next up is approval and adjustments to the agenda. I mean, we're only here for the work session, so does anyone have any changes to the agenda? Anything else?
Approve.
I don't think we can't vote in a work session, so
Okay, good.
Basically it's just if anyone else wants anything to talk about, we would officially talk about it. So I guess we're good there. Anyone have any conflicts of interest on discussing the budget? I wouldn't think so, but you know. Okay, so let's talk numbers, my favorite part. Considering we're in a virtual situation here, I think the easiest thing to do would be probably just go down the line and see if there's any specific things people have issues with or things they want to discuss. So I'm going to start on the first page, which comes straight from the controller's office. So I don't think there's really much we have. They're projecting that we're going to have $298,700 this coming budget year, which is down from 359, but I believe that includes the grant from the state. So if you take 85,000 away from that, we're going up, rough guesstimate in my head, about 20,000. So it's on par from what the estimate was originally before the grant, which was 297 in 2020 to 2021. So we're holding steady in terms of revenue. So that's, again, first page. So our beginning fund balance, they say, is 139. That doesn't include the adjustment. Ending fund balance would be 181, based on the fact that we don't know how we're spending everything yet, because we just don't know what that sinkhole is going to cost us. So that's just page one. So let's go to page two, which is where we get into the actual fun part of the numbers. So lines 702, 712, and 713, those come directly from controller office estimates. Those are set, but that's something Melissa sends me. As you can see, because of there will be a reduction from last year's budget to this year for the executive director, because you went from a executive director who had been there for 7 years to one who hadn't. Administrative assistant, which would be Judy, looks like she's going to get her annual 2%. I'm sure Judy's looking forward to that. And overhead on salaries and wages would be 7,100, which is on par. Life and hospital insurance for me, which you guys agreed to per my contract, would be 7,200. So those numbers come directly from the controller. So those really aren't anything that we really need to change. Line 726, supplies. Estimate this previous year was 1,700. I put in a request for 1,200. I believe that 1,700 included my new computer. I don't anticipate buying anything like that going into next year. So I think, $1,200, I don't think is too much, considering we went 385, 281, 1,700. So hopefully Judy doesn't break her computer, so then we won't have to buy a new one. The only thing I'm looking into in terms of a purchase for a supply that would cost anything is some sort of way to have a shared drive so that me and Judy on both our computers can look at the same data. So that may cost, buying a separate hard drive or something like that. If anyone has anything they want to change or discuss, just stop me. Otherwise, I'm going to just keep talking. That's 726. 727 office supplies. I went from 900 down to 700 just because, again, we haven't spent it. So I'd rather tighten it than not. Building supplies, I kept it about even. We budgeted this year 1,400. I put it at 15, just because the building sometimes does require that stuff. Next line is 801. The facade program, obviously, because the state canceled it, we can't really spend money on it. So that's why that 30,000 has been eliminated. The downtown patrol, that's where I thought the first point of discussion would come up, because I had zeroed that out, because basically I would prefer that we spend any kind of security money towards our own facilities as opposed to a downtown patrol in general. I know Judy has discussed this with the city in terms of how much this actually happens. So if you have anything to add in terms of why, we had discussed the change in priority, but otherwise, that's where that is for downtown patrol. So Judy, do you have anything in terms of what the discussion point was with that?
Oh,
Okay.
the question came up whether we were going to have it or not.
So, like I said,
I'd like to speak in favor of continuing with the downtown patrol.
Okay.
It was popular among the merchants, as I've been told, and I just think it's a good thing to do. It's not a huge amount of money, and I think it's been a positive for the community.
And I'd have to agree with that. This is Pat. The merchants, and when there's any kind of festivities at the end of the road down there at East End, the expectation is there's going to be extra patrols, and just if the DDA can help fund some of that, that's a huge, it's a big relief to our budget.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add on to that?
as a merchant, I can say I do appreciate the extra patrols.
Okay.
And I will support the extra patrols. We did run into an event problem years ago. All our money was spent on like 2 days of an event. And it's not what we wanted it for. It was to have public exposure. Just to show the safety reasons for the merchants and for the public.
So from what I'm hearing, and again, since we can't take votes in work session, I'm hearing the consensus of the board is to restore that to the 10,000. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Then I will alter that for when I will put that back in. All right. So just so you know, whatever changes we make here, I will send out to the board. And then we'll have to have a formal vote on it at the February meeting, obviously. So, all right. So that would change our professional services from 36,600 last year to 10,000 this year. Again, I'm hoping for the return of the facades, and if they do, we'll do an amendment to put that back. But without the state program, I really can't justify putting it in the budget. So for now, that's what we got. So, all right, so we'll restore the 10,000 for downtown patrol, and that'll make 10,000 for professional services. Okay. Anything else under professional services anyone has? Hearing none.
Possibly.
Okay.
Under professional services, would guided sessions of board training fall in that category? If we need to hire someone to come and do presentations or classes, call them what you will.
That, and again, I could see that falling under either professional services or education and training, depending
Okay.
on how we word it. I would, me personally, and again, this is my first round with you guys, so I don't know how you guys have done things in the past, but my read on professional services is us hiring outside people to do certain things. I mean, the design for the facades, we were hiring an architect firm, downtown patrol, we were hiring the police department to do services.
Perfect.
What you're talking about, Mr. Vice Chair, sounds more to me like if we wanted to pay for an educational service to me, which I would prefer to budget that under education, but that's just me.
That sounds correct.
Okay. Okay. Anything else under professional services? Okay, moving on. Property rehabilitation, 000 has been, will continue to be. Telephones, we pay 35, 34. I'm budgeting 3 because I'm going to look to reduce that. I've talked to our service provider at the office and along with the other possible service provider, because I'm going to try and rebid it because we turned off the internet at the marketplace because it would actually be more cost effective to turn it off for 6 months and then have them move it because the router was in the kitchen. So obviously we can't have the router in the kitchen with the professional kitchen. So we're going to have them rewire it, and it would be cheaper to just cancel the service and have them do a new service installation than it would be to have them move it. And at that point, I'm going to try and competitively bid both of them. And also, we have 3 lines at the office, the main line, my line, and a dedicated fax line. I'm going to try and drop the dedicated fax line and just have the fax ring off of my line because we so rarely get faxes. I just don't think it's worth paying for a dedicated line. In fact, I had the machine rigged to send faxes as PDFs to the email because 90% of the emails are spam faxes, you know, offering me Bermuda vacations and unemployment services and certain personal products that I don't need. So that's what I'm looking to reducing that a little bit. So next up would be 860 travel allowances auto allow. We budgeted 350. I put it up to 500 this year just because, again, I do look at going to some of these conferences if we do them in person. I did check into it. The reason why it was 3,000 something this year, my contracted moving expense of 3,000 was put under that when the controller paid it. So that's why that was budgeted. If you want, I can send out the line item from the controller, but there was a question last week about that. So that is why it was over budget this term, is because you paid for my moving expenses per my contract and it came out of that budget. So yeah, 500 would be the request this year, up a little bit. Hopefully, I don't think I'm gonna have to travel too much this year. I don't think they think everything goes well, we could be back to something resembling normal by fall or winter. So that would be half a year if they're going to have anything in person. So I just don't think it's going to happen too much. But plus, gas prices are going up, so you never know. So that's the budget request for travel expenses auto allowance. Next up, public relations. Pretty much stayed the same. I have, I'm trying to, I don't have the lines on here. So make sure I read the right line. So I got to get my ruler out. Forgot to put my lines in here. Okay, so for Christmas activities, we're holding steady at 10,000. Sidewalk sales, I rounded it up to 2. The marketplace, 1,500. General advertising, 5,000. Lunch on Ludington, we don't do that anymore, do we? Or we haven't. So yeah, that got zeroed out because we don't do that anymore. And then 1,500 for others. So that is basically the public relations budget. Since we're not doing lunch on Ludington, I figured we could do a little bit more advertising, especially once the reopenings get a little bit more solid. I think doing some promotion to try and get businesses into our downtown is especially important. Personally, I think it's very important, especially for the businesses, the restaurants, because they're the ones who had to close as opposed to just having reduced capacity. So again, that's kind of where we are with the budget for public relations went from 18,000 to 20,000. I think with what's going on, doing a little bit more advertising this year for our downtown is warranted. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on any of those numbers?
Is anybody with the people that do the lunch on Ludington, if they have any plans to bring that back this year?
I think, who did the lunch on Ludington?
Wendy Pepin?
Okay. I haven't heard anything from them. I know the last time I was at a Downtown Partners in Business meeting, they said the only 2 things they were looking at doing this year was the sidewalk sales and the Christmas, the Black Friday and Tuesday.
Yeah, Wendy does it herself. It's not part of the Downtown Partners.
Okay. So I haven't heard anything from her. So if she does bring it back, like I said, we do have an other, so that can come out of that, or I can come forward with a specific request and amendment later if we need to. And I can reach out to her in the next week and see if she's going to be doing it this year. This year, I just don't think it's viable. But then again, if this goes into next year's budget, next summer, maybe. So we can reach out to her. And if I need to change that before we have a final vote in the February meeting, we can certainly look at that. But I was told it didn't happen anymore. So I figured why budget for something that's not happening. But if she's going to do it, then I can obviously change that.
I would check with Wendy Pepin.
Okay. Judy, can you give her a jingle today?
She told me last year she was not interested in doing it anymore.
Oh, see?
Okay then. Sorry, I brought it up.
Stuff that happened before I even got here. Okay, so that's where we are on that. So unless anyone has any changes they'd like to make, we'll go on to the page 3. Feel like Paul Harvey. And now, page 2. Actually, page 3. You didn't think I'd know that reference, did y'all? Printing and publishing under line 900. Bumped it up $50 just in case we do any printing and publishing again, flyering, stuff like that, maybe. Insurance and bonds, I put in 3 because it seems to steadily tick up every year. So, insurance rates go up. 920 public utilities, again, just trying to, that one looks like it's holding steady. Depends on the cost of heating oil and electricity, I would suppose. Maintenance of parking lots, 18,000, that's staying steady. I believe that's our maximum requirement under agreement with the city for the parking lots. Maintenance of sidewalks. Now this, I believe, falls into the discussion we had last week with Bob. That's what we put aside every year, and it looks like we put aside 1,500. I had started at 2,500 because I know we wanted to put in something else. I think also later on I put in 7,500 for sidewalk curve brick paver repair for a total of 10,000 between the two for sidewalks and brick paver. I think that would cover, that was the beginning point of the discussion of what we wanted to kick into the city under the agreement we had reached with Bob last week. So let's just kind of cheat a little bit and come up is 10,000. I know I said 10,000. I said he wished there would be more. I understand that, but where's the board's feelings in terms of how much of our budget we should be kicking in towards the city under what we talked about last week with Bob? Like I said, I put 10,000 in because it's a round number to start from.
Well, it doesn't seem to even get to where we want, at least in my opinion, we wanted to go. If we're gonna do the sidewalks in front of, between 10th and 9th or between 11th and 12th, we've got some sidewalks that are just shot.
Mhm.
And that's not even gonna touch doing one of those projects.
Mhm.
Helping the city is one thing. Fixing our sidewalks down Ludington Street is a whole nother thing that we used to do. I don't know whatever happened to that, but we don't do it anymore.
When you say we, Dan, you mean we, the city, or we, the DDA specifically?
Years ago, the DDA put in about $25,000, and they would do a sidewalk curb repair. It stopped happening 5-6 years ago,
Okay.
and we just haven't had it happen. And now it's not looking like they want anything to do with that, just their own projects, and want us to help them with their own projects. So, okay, I can understand everybody wants money, but we're not getting what we need to get done like we used to.
So if we used to have 25 grand to throw at that, and we're not throwing, I mean, we've got 2,500 set aside. What have we been doing with the other roughly 2,250?
I'm not sure. It just gets spent in other places. I did request to get those numbers last week. I haven't seen them or heard about them. Did we ever come up with those numbers, Scott or Judy, that we used to spend on sidewalks?
Well, the last one we spent was 21,000. That was a few years back.
I don't think I have any documentation going through what I have on my computer, which I still have to reorganize everything. But yeah, the last thing we said was like a couple of years ago, we spent 21,000 to do a repair. I don't know where it was, but I mean, we have on here what we spent in 2018, 19, 2019, 20, and 2021. And it's been around 1,500. And I don't even know what we've spent on maintenance of sidewalk. Is maintenance of sidewalk, is that just like what we pay in terms of snow plowing, Judy?
Yes, that was for the
Okay.
morning plowing of the sidewalk.
So I guess that if that's just what this is, maintenance of sidewalks in terms of setting aside money to pay for snow plowing and whatever, I guess this isn't the repair. So I guess it kind of would fall under the 976 line, which will come up later in terms of sidewalk curb brick paver repair. So I guess that's kind of my misinterpretation. So I guess the maintenance side, that'll just be for snow plowing and all that other general stuff. So I guess 2,500 is probably maybe even too much if we've only been paying 13, 14, we're budgeted 15 this year. Because when I heard maintenance, I thought that meant the repairs. So that's why I upped that one. So if that's just for the salting and general upkeep, I guess we should actually probably drop that back to, I think I'll take 500 off, put it at 2,000. And that way, if we want to up it in the capital outlay line, we can do that. So I'm going to correct that since I'm now corrected in that. So, all right. So then that'll just be for the salting and general upkeep, not in terms of repairing. Because again, when I see maintenance, I thought that meant general repairs. So that's
Scott, I've got a previous file I just pulled from 2016.
yeah.
It was listed maintenance, downtown sidewalks maintenance, and then there was a separate line entry. I'm trying to find it again here. 930-100-200. That was 1,500 for the sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost it. I know I saw it. It was $25,000 that we had budgeted.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where it is. Like I said, it may be under capital outlay, but I know right now, yeah, we're talking.
976.
Yeah, that's all right. So when we get to 976, we can repick this back up. But yeah, so 930/200 is just the maintenance for the salting. So I changed that from 25 to 2. hoping we won't have too bad of a winter.
Okay.
So, all right, let's table the sidewalk conversation until we get to 976 then. So then we'll move on to I don't know why repairs to structures has Christmas garland, but whatever. 931 repairs to structures, Christmas garland, 10,000, flowers at Ludington and Lincoln, 2,000, building and grounds, 2,000. It's pretty much the same. Do we know how much the garland ended up costing total this year, Judy?
Just the garland or the,
Garland and installation.
I'm not sure if she put the installation figures in yet.
Okay. So we can't know if that held steady. So
Scott, you've lowered from the budget of last year to the budget that we are discussing, from 11,000 to 10,000. I'd like to know what it cost.
okay. So we'll have to. Like I said, we haven't gotten a bill for installation yet, so I can't answer that. Do we know how much the actual garland itself cost, Judy? We did get that bill.
Around 2,400.
2,400. So we'll have to ask if they can send us the bill for the installation so we know. So I'll put an asterisk by that, and once we get the bill for the installation, we'll see if my number holds or if we need to change that before we give final approval in February. So
That's
Judy,
fine.
Judy, can you reach out to whoever would give us that bill today and see if we can get that bill in the next couple of days?
Sure.
I'm assuming if it's from from Public Works, they're going to be busy tomorrow, so I'm not going to be too persnickety, but just.
Melissa may have it, so I'll give her a call.
All right. So like I said, the other two are steady, so we'll put a pin in the 10,000 to see if that covers the installation costs. If not, I'll alter it before we do final approval and I'll let everyone know. Next line is repair to equipment. I don't think we've come, let's see, estimated budget. Repair to equipment. Like I said, we haven't spent I don't think we spent nearly 2,000 on repair to equipment. So that's why I lowered that much. I mean, the only equipment we repair really has been our office equipment, which really don't, I think it's including the rental, a certain amount of repairs. Judy, is there any other equipment we've had to repair?
Well, I believe that would come under like the air conditioner or the furnace.
Okay, so that's all been replaced recently though, right?
Yeah, but you have a spring turn on and a winter
Yeah.
turn off and that sort of thing.
Oh, but like I said, I didn't think we were going to need that. But do you think what I did in terms of reducing it is good, or do you think we should put it back?
No, I think it's good at 1,000.
Okay. Does anyone else have any? Because again, a lot of our stuff is new, thankfully. So, and with the new kitchen going in, I don't think hopefully we won't have to repair anything in the kitchen for the first year. You never know though. Someone could be careless. Next up is rental for equipment. I kept that steady because our rental rates for what we rent is pretty straightforward. I think we rent the copier. Is there anything else we rent in terms of equipment?
It's the one for the tree, when we decorate the tree.
Yeah, but I think that falls under Christmas. I don't think that falls under this.
I think that's what she puts it under though.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. So, I mean, but like I said, going down the line, it was 23, 18. We budgeted 3. I'll keep it at 3. So, next up, membership and dues. I put that up because there are 2 organizations that I wish to be members of. That'd be the Michigan Downtown Association, the Michigan Economic Developers Association. That's both around $250 a piece. So that'd be $500 a year. So that's why that is. Next up, education and training. So that's the one that I put the most up. The biggest chunk of that would be for me to attend educational sessions. I know I was just accepted into the program through the Michigan Downtown Association to learn more about some of the things other people are doing to get certified as a certified downtown. I don't remember what the word is. Certified downtown manager or something like that. That's a program I think lasts a year or 2, maybe even 3, depending on how fast things go. That also would include what Mark brought up earlier, like if we wanted to bring in any sort of outside people to help training for us as a board. I know, I've wanted to do some sort of parliamentary training just because I'm a parliamentarian. I'm the one who's read Robert's Rules 3 times, so I think it's always a good thing for boards to be aware of. I'm sure there's other issues that we could, you know, be better as a board at. I mean, I think everyone always thinks we could always improve things. So that's kind of why I put that there. For me to attend the quarterly meetings and annual conferences, that would be a couple of thousand, to also include, you know, since the vice chair said he liked to look into some sort of board training, that would also fall in there. So again, I put 5,000 as a round number to start discussion with. So that's kind of where I know Sue had asked about where I got that number. Like I said, I was trying to put in cost of conferences, cost of stuff like that. And if we wanted to bring anyone outside now, like the vice chair saying, that would also fall into there. So that's kind of where I am in terms of that number. Just because I budget for it doesn't mean I have to spend all of it too. So, in fact, as a fiscal conservative, I try not to spend all the money I'm budgeted. Questions, comments? Anyone want to throw anything at me?
I'm fine with the number.
Okay. All right. So then we'll move on to. Okay. Next one would be capital outlay building improvement. Let me put the easy stuff first. Marketplace kitchen. There's a $50,000 hold because I guess I have to change the line item. That would be for the sinkhole repair, because it seems like we're not going to get an estimate on the level of damage until the melt in the spring, and by the time everything gets bid out and we get the work done, I think it's a fair possibility that it won't get paid until the next fiscal year. So that is, even though it's labeled marketplace kitchen, that's for the sinkhole. Parking lot improvements on that first block, since I'm assuming we budget for it, does that mean it's been done? So that's why I zeroed that out, because like, okay, if we paid for it last year, we shouldn't do it this year unless it's an ongoing pavement. And then again, sidewalk curve, brick repair. I thought I was adding 25 and 750, so that was my mistake in judgment. So that I'm sure we could put back up somewhere else. So I guess we'd probably have to separate that in terms of what we want to contribute to the city for their general upkeep of the 100 blocks, and then what do we want to do separately for if we want to do any sidewalk or curb improvements ourselves on the main drag. So, okay.
Well, right now, we don't even have a contractor to get a bid for a sidewalk, or have picked a sidewalk to bid.
Right.
But I know, I mean, 25,000 is probably just a roundabout number that might take care of it. We might get more for our dollar, or we might have to pay more. I don't know.
Well, just as a reminder, currently in this budget year, because of the reductions, a lot of things, we are going to be 50,000 over, and according to what the preliminary numbers, we would be 42 over in terms of, we'd have 42,000 I'm not spending this coming year. So if we do, we can add in a few more numbers if we want to, but I don't want to budget more than I can project right now. So I think we have a $42,000 cushion based on where things are. So if you want to add in, if you want to change sidewalk, curb, brick paver repair, and I would want to specify that for Ludington Street and put that at a budget of 25, and then see how much that's going to cost. And then I probably want to put a separate line item for the 100 block contribution to the city and discuss what amount we want that to be. That's kind of how I'm thinking that would be the best way to itemize that in our capital outlay building improvement line. Does anyone have any objection to splitting it that way? Okay, so let's take the overhead fund first. So for Ludington improvements under 976, Dan has thrown out 25,000. Is that a number people think is too low, too high, or just about right, if we're going to use the three little bears metaphor?
Until we've asked for a bid, we really don't know. We're just guessing.
That's true.
So 25 would be fine as a guess.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll put 25K, and again, depending on the bids, if it's up, then we'll do an amendment. If it's down, well, then we'll just have a little bit left in the kitty. So, all right, so I have Ludington at 25. So the 100 blocks, that gets into what do we want to kick into the city under what we agreed to do there. So they said if we kick in a certain amount, they would promise to do one 100 block worth of repairs a year. So like I said, I threw out 10 during the meeting, and I know Bob said, oh, I wish it'd be more than 10, which I understand that, but that's, again, I'm just threw out a round number. So does anyone on the board have a idea of what they think we should kick into that program?
I think the number probably at least starts with a 2.
Okay. Do we want to do another 25?
I would suggest either 20 or 25.
Mhm.
All right.
I just have a question. Where's this new money coming from for what project that we have no control over?
What do you mean, new money?
We're coming up with big numbers to give the city to do stuff that we have no control over, we're not asking for. I'm just one person, just wondering where all of a sudden we're spending 25,000 on something that we have
Well,
no control over.
well, like I said, I mean, the Ludington one, I mean, like I said, based on what I had projected in my first pass, we do have 42 left over. Now, that also includes the 75 for sidewalk curb brick paver repair that's currently there. So if you add that in, we're at $49,781. So we have, you know, if you want to take it right up to the line, we have about 50,000 to play with. So that's kind of another reason why for the first budget I underestimated a few things just to make sure we had some room to go up and down. That way we wouldn't just have to cut. If there were some things we wanted to go up, then we had room to do that. So the 100 block is what we talked about last week, and we agreed to in our board meeting to contribute to the city. So they would promise to do 100 block worth of curbs, sidewalks, and everything as part of what Bob wanted to do in terms of a holistic approach. And I think he said for Ludington, he wanted to see to get a grant to do Ludington, or at least good chunks of Ludington. So, like I said, I know that, you know, whatever you wanted to say about, you know, we agreed to the program with him last week. We just said we'd have to discuss the number. So I guess that's kind of what we're doing right now, is discussing the number. And it seems from at least the two people who've thrown out numbers, they wanted to start with a 2. I heard 20 or 25. So that's just kind of where I see what we're doing here is we agreed to do something last week. Now we're kind of figuring out how much we want to pay for it.
Well, obviously, anybody that was asking for money wants money, but where do we come up with all the extra money? I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not hearing enough from other members of the board is my issue right now.
It's my understanding what Scott just mentioned is that he's worked through this, and we actually do have. I mean, we apparently have enough to put 25,000 towards sidewalk and curb repairs, which, if we look at past year's budgets recently, we haven't had it as well. So we've also pulled that out of thin air, so to speak. But Scott just walked us through. Here's what he did. Here's what he figured out. So there's actually room, technically, right now for both.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not, the other thing is that with the kitchen project done and even with the extension from the state, it has to be done by June 30th. So that would fall under this current fiscal year. You know, outside of the sinkhole repair, we're kind of done with the marketplace for a while. And I know under the current capital projects, we still owe the city money for, I think it's another 4 years. I think we're out of the debt repayment for the marketplace in 2025, 26. So we're really not in a position to do any kind of giant project until then. So it's kind of like where I am is let's take the money we have and spend it where we can spend it on things we need to spend it on. And once we're out of the debt service to the city, then we can think about, okay, do we want to do another giant improvement project that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars? We're not in a position to do that right now because of the debt service, because I don't want to go further into debt if I don't have to. I mean, like I said, if lightning strikes the marketplace and it's above our insurance, then obviously we're going to pay for it. But so that's why, like I said, I left room under my proposal so we can go up or down depending on the board's wishes. I mean, like I said, this is why I think when I submitted it to Melissa I said it's my first draft, and she says, well, what do you mean by that? It says, well, the board has to go through it. I'm just kind of making estimates and guesstimates and what I think we're going to want to prioritize, but it's up to you guys to actually determine that.
Again, just to clarify, I mean, you said this before, but right now, at this moment, this seems like a prudent time to remind that when we are setting this budget, we are putting a number down that we think we might possibly be willing to spend on that project, but it doesn't mean that we're not cutting a check to the city for $25,000 today that they're going to cash this afternoon.
Correct. Well, the 25,000 that would be for lighting, that would something we do specifically. Like if we wanted to hire an independent contractor to do Ludington, because, you know,
Right.
in Bob's email, he said that he wouldn't be able to spare crews to do specific things. So that's why he wanted to do the holistic thing with the 100 blocks. So that's why I asked to separate them, because the Ludington Street thing that Dan's talking about is something that we would do in-house. And the 100 block thing is what we agreed to last week with the city. So there'd be two separate line items going forward. That's what I was talking about in terms of splitting them.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I just wanted to remind everybody that when we put these numbers down, we're not spending the money today. It's not just disappearing.
No, that's
It's,
true.
Here's what we think is a reasonable amount to work with when the city comes to us with this project. We might be willing to give up to 25,000.
Yeah. So again, we can also, yeah, that the budget is not, it's not a vote to spend. It's basically,
Not a checkbook.
yeah, it's not a checkbook. I mean, you're not just giving me, say, okay, Scott, whatever you want to do for, I'm gonna pick a line for the sake of argument. You can rent $3,000 worth of rental of equipment, no matter what it is, because we say, here's your blank check for 3,000. I still have to come and justify it if it's over $500.
I'd just like to remind everyone that, you know, to budget a chunk of money and say we're going to go out and we're going to put out an RFP and take bids on coming in and doing concrete work, and that's going to be really expensive.
Mhm.
The best way to do this is to try to work with and tag along with our public works, you know, department, especially if they can get that paving machine in here. I don't know if it's set to come this year or not, but if you look at the curbing in front of Stonehouse and Statewide Realty down there, that looks really nice. And they use a curbing machine to do that with, and it just rolls it right out. It's beautiful. You know, I prefer that over top of the 90-degree cornered edges on the curbs when they build forms to do that stuff. You know, when our guys do it, they use forms to do that. So I don't know. I prefer the curb machine if we can get it, but then you have to kind of tag along with what they're doing.
And I agree with Patrick completely. I understood when we went into this thing, we were trying to work with the city to get something done. And then when we talked to Bob, he threw it out there that we'd like some money to help on the 100 block, but we're not going to touch Ludington Street because that's not in our time frame. Now, I didn't see the return for the donation from the city to help us with Ludington Street. Just got told to go bid it out on our own.
I think what Bob's hoping for is you know, a couple of years ago, we thought we were going to get this 10% match grant to come in and just completely redo this Ludington, the whole streetscape, everything, which would be awesome. And then there was an election and a new governor and everything stopped. And I guess that's kind of what Bob's hoping. What he said in that meeting was, if we can get the 100 blocks done, we're ready if a grant comes along to do Ludington Street. You know, the 100 blocks are, the returns are done, the 100 blocks are done. We can focus on Ludington and really make it nice, but it's a matter of if and when.
And that's understandable, and that, you know, but I don't see any of that happening anytime soon.
Yeah,
I don't see any money coming from the state.
I
I
know.
don't think they have any left. And that's where it's back on ourselves to take care of ourselves. And when we haven't done it, and that one, yeah, the curbing in front of the statewide, that area took 3 years to get done. They did do infrastructure when they did it, and that's what we'd have to work with, but I mean, we're not getting anything done is our issue, my issue with our Ludington Street sidewalks.
So, question, are you saying that maybe we suggest spending our money on Ludington Street, which is kind of our priority as a DDA, versus giving the city $20,000 to $25,000 every year for the 100 block? Is that what I'm hearing, or no?
Well, in my opinion, we're giving them somebody's proposing giving them $25,000 and we're not getting anything done on Ludington Street.
I
That
kind of,
doesn't seem like a good bribe to me.
I guess is what we need to consider. We're talking about two different line items here. And what is our priority as a DDA? Is our priority, which I would assume is our downtown versus our 100 block. So where do you want to spend the money? And are you willing to spend the money on the two different places too? I guess that's where we need to figure out. Correct?
Well, I'd like to
Yes.
just to say again, we did agree to the thing with the city already last week. So I think we at least need to come up with a number for that. Ludington Street, that's something separate. We didn't agree to do anything with that, so that's something we'd have to do internally. So we can, put a number in for Ludington as a placeholder and continue and maybe discuss it further. But at this time, I think it's just prudent that we at least come up with a number for what we've already agreed to, which is what is the stuff with the city, with the 100 blocks. Ludington Street, and if we want to do something like that, again, we can, and we can put a placeholder number in there until we get bids. And, but right now, we already put down, we'd say we'd look at bids and we put 25K for Ludington Street. So what we're on now is what number do we want to put in for what we already agreed to for the 100 blocks? I think the vice chair and the treasurer have said numbers starting with a 2. So it'll be between 20,000 and 29,999. So do we want to just do 25 each, or do you want to put 20? And again, this isn't final. We're not voting on this today. So if you want me to just say, all right, we'll put 25 in, we'll take a week or two to think about it before our next meeting, and then we come our next meeting when we do final voting approval of the budget, we can change it.
I would like to recommend 25,000 and remind everybody that I've never been a fan of the DDA having to fund infrastructure in the first place, but I'm aware that we are a small community with a decreasing population and a tight budget, and we need to do the best we can to help each other out so that we have the best possible space for our businesses and our residents to occupy. Also, I'd like to remind us all briefly that the DDA district does not end on Ludington Street. It extends to First Avenue North and South on either side and includes all those side streets, which are vital to accessing many of the businesses that are on Ludington Street. So they certainly are part of our business district, and they're definitely our priority. If we block those off, it's going to be very difficult to get to any of the businesses.
Okay, so just to kind of put this to bed so we can move on. Does anyone have any objection to just putting in 25 as the vice chair recommends for the placeholder number for 100? Let everyone stew on it, and then we come back for final approval. If anyone has any changes, we can make them.
I will say I have a problem with it, but I'm only one vote.
Well, like I said, we're not technically voting, but does anyone else have any further changes to that possible number or objections to putting that number in? Okay, hearing none, I'll put that in, and then I'm sure we'll discuss it further at our November meeting, or if anyone wants to, if anyone has a correspondence they want to do, we'll do that. Okay. So I think that takes care of capital outlay for now. So we have, again, just to recap, for Ludington Street sidewalk curve brick paver repair, we have a number of 25,000 pending bidding. For contributions to the city for the 100 blocks, we have 25,000. And as a placeholder again, for the bidding of the sinkhole repair for the marketplace, we have 50. So that would make our capital outlay go from 57 to 100. And I will double check to make sure my math works on that in terms of the money we had left over at the state level, because that, yeah, that changes that and everything else. I'll double check my math when I get that done. Okay. Moving on to 977 capital outlay equipment. I'm holding that steady at 1,500. I don't think, do we anticipate buying any equipment? But you never know with, things break. We've learned that the hard way at the headquarters. So again, we're just holding that steady. If there's any major expense, I'm sure we'll have to come back, but I don't anticipate it because we bought a lot of the stuff in recent years, and that stuff has usually pretty good lifespan. Books, magazines, periodicals, line 979, keeping that steady at 500. And I think I've asked this, Judy, but is that for stuff we buy? Do we subscribe to any
Oh, that's a
magazine?
subscription.
What do we subscribe to?
We don't.
Okay. So we may not even spend that, but no, maybe no books and also periodicals. I mean, there may be things we want to look at, but that's again, it's only been 234 in the past and we budget 500. So hopefully we won't spend all that. All right. My best Paul Harvey, page 4. We're coming in for a landing, folks. 991 debt service payment. That comes directly from the controller. That is what our payment will be for this year, 11,225. So again, that is directly from the controller. Last line item, 965, contributions to other funds. I don't think I made that spelling error. I think Melissa did. Rock to doc participation. Rock to the doc participation. We've done 2,500 for the last few years. I'm keeping it at 2,500. So that is that. That's all of our line items for this year. Is there anything budget related that anyone has that wasn't a line item that you wish to bring up to discuss, debate, throw a number at, or anything else at this time? All right, well then, I guess that concludes that. Since there's no voting, we're not voting on that. So if anyone has anything that comes to them later, like another thought that they want to throw in, add that into the discussion. We'll do final approval of this on our February meeting, which the date eludes me at the moment, but at our regular February meeting, I'll have this corrected and updated and sent out to you all for final approval. It still can be amended at that time, obviously, but that's kind of where we are. I have our changes handwritten in here. I will have them updated into typing because no one wants to read my handwriting, because most of you probably couldn't. So that concludes that aspect. New business is none. Project updates, kind of the same thing as last week. Various other issues, I have none. General public comment. We have 2 members of the public here. I'm going to go down the order that I have them in. Kelly P. I just love how it says Kelly P. I don't know why. Kelly, do you have any public comment at this time?
I just have a question than a public comment. Is there anything in the budget currently for the MEDC's rental rehab program? Because that's a program that did not have their funding stripped away, and they request that the city or the DDA includes funds with that project, and with those projects, and I'm just wondering if there's any money available for that. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. The other member of the non-member of the DDA board, but is Council Member DuBoard. Do you have any comment at this time?
I have none at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Let's see what's next on the agenda. Board staff comments. Does any member of the board have anything they'd like to add?
I'm just curious, during the meeting, I believe Ms. Parker had requested that we have 2 work sessions.
I didn't remember asking for 2. Is that something you want to do, Sue?
No, I think it was 1 and a second if necessary.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
I think it was a time frame we were discussing, Mark, that we didn't want to go over an hour on the meeting.
Okay,
And then we would do a second if needed.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was covered.
Yeah. That's like I said, if some of the discussion want to go on, as I say, we could do a second one and give people time, but I think we kind of got through it fairly efficiently considering we're doing a budget. Let's see, for staff, I'll reserve for a moment. Judy, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
All right. For me, I'm sorry, Peggy.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment that I would really like some training for our board. I know we had it sort of in the budget, but I would like at least some sort of training. I think it'd be real helpful.
Do you have any specific subject you'd like me to look into getting training on there, Peggy?
Talking just how the board runs, the necessarily rules. I think a lot of times that we do end up going down a rabbit hole sometimes and not getting pulled back, and some time does get get wasted or it just seems like there needs to be a more direct line to getting through things, I guess. So that's what I'm looking at.
I certainly could, we can do some parliamentary procedure and stuff like that, which, I mean, I haven't paid my $200 to get my certification, but I can certainly at least do a walkthrough. I don't know if you have any certified parliamentarians up here, so I'd have to find one. So I'm sure we can do that. Absolutely. I think anytime you go, especially because I think there's a new version of Roberts out, so we have to look over the changes anyways. I haven't even bought it yet.
There's a guy, and I forget his name, doggone it. He's with MSUE up here, with MSU Extension.
Okay.
He does board training. He's very good. We've been talking of getting him in here for a couple of years now.
Well, you know what, Patrick, if you're going to get him in there to do a city council, I think maybe it'd just be a good idea to just have him do a general training for all the boards and commissions.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it, is to try to get everybody together. Planning commission too, and
yeah, well, that's why I said all the boards and commissions. So I think we can, let's see for that, Peggy specifically. I'll work with Patrick and see if we can get that guy in here in the next, even if it has to be virtual, we'll solve all this on a Zoom, well, I'm assuming if the city's doing, it'll be WebEx. You know, shove everyone on there and just go through, you know, parliamentary procedure, how a board operates, all that stuff, because, you know, we've had, you know, anytime we can do that, that's good. So,
Thank you.
anything else from a board member? Okay, my only comment would be in answering the question raised. There is no budget, there's nothing in the budget right now for residential rehab. We did bring it up in a previous board meeting, and it was kind of not within something the board was interested in funding. If that does change, the board's will can change. If they'd like to, you know, think about it and say, okay, maybe we want to look into doing that. Again, I'm here at the discretion of the board, but currently, to answer the question, there is nothing in the budget currently for that program. All right, let's see, just to make sure I'm not screwing anything else up. Announcements. Anyone have any announcements besides the fact that I hope everyone's snow blowers are well gassed? I know mine is. Hey, I'm kind of excited. This is the first big UP snowstorm. It took until February. What? Come on, I thought I was going to have one of these in October.
It's called the banana belt, man.
I know, but I figured at least I'd get one good one in. I didn't move to Houghton, but still.
Well, you missed one last year, December 1st.
Yeah.
November 30, December 1st.
I'm hoping if it ends early enough, I can get out there early in the morning and plow out, so I don't have to plow through my driveway without it being plowed, because that'll be fun, especially going out onto a main road. All right, well, hearing no further discussion, I think that kind of wraps up what we need to do today. Thank you to the board for coming in for this extra meeting. I appreciate it, and we got it done in under an hour, which if only our state and federal governments can get budgets done in under an hour. All right, so hearing without any objection, I will declare this work session closed, and I thank you for your participation and wish you all a great Thursday.
You too. Thank you.